1967, I was living in California, and I attended a meeting, quite a large gathering. Sheriff Jim Clark from, I believe it was Montgomery, Alabama, who was in the news a lot just around that time for supposedly hosing down Negroes. You've probably seen those pictures, images on the TV, and the news even up today. They still want to show those pictures. And he spoke in Los Angeles, and we went to his gathering or his meeting. There was quite a lot of people were there, but there was also a lot of protesters. James Farmer, I was trying to remember what the organization he was with, but he was a high-ranking, I guess you could say, Negro, and he organized protests as well as others, the NAACP, and so on. And so they were there in large number. And I recall a few days later, at church, I believe it was, some of the people there said, I wish I could have gone, but I was a little concerned about the protesters and so forth. And remember this fellow standing up, and his name is sometimes run across even today. His name was Jack Montgomery. By that time, he went by the name of Jack Fredericks. I still don't know what his real name was. Jack Fredericks or Jack Montgomery. And because he switched names back and forth. Why, I don't know. But anyway, and but he was quite a sanguine personality. And he stood up and said, what's the matter with you people? He said, why were you afraid to come? He said, don't you know that you're the sons of God? And those people are just heathens and beasts? You're the sons of God. What were you afraid of? And you know, that's very astute understanding. We're the sons of God. What does that mean? Now, I've got here a reference. This is from the book of Peter, 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 9. You all should be familiar with it. I'm sure you are. It says, but you are a chosen generation, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, a peculiar people, that you should show forth the praises of him who has called you out of darkness into his marvelous light. What does that mean? People read it all the time. Churches read it. But what does that mean? He says you're a chosen generation. Now, if some of you have the international version, you're going to find the word generation there is actually translated race. You're a chosen race, a royal priesthood. This is not just a flippant statement. This is very specific, talking to our people. Don't you know who you are? Peter is saying. And as many have said throughout the years, as well as this fella back in 1967 I referred to just a moment ago. Don't you know who you are? You're a chosen generation, a chosen race, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, and a peculiar people. Now, there's a song written 1,500 years ago. Some of you most of you are probably quite familiar with it. This song was written 1,500 years ago by a fellow by the name of Dalen Forgall from Ireland. And the song is Be Thou My Vision. I was going to play it, but I didn't get a time to upload it. But you're all familiar with it. Be thou my vision. And in the third verse, I believe maybe it's the second verse, this is what it says. Be thou my vision, and thou my true word. I ever with thee, and thou with me, Lord. Thou my great Father, I thy true Son, thou in me dwelling, and I with thee one. Now, scripturally, when it uses the word son, it's referring to, or man, referring to like mankind. It's not necessarily always referring to males. It's referring to mankind. And we hear in this song, thou art a great Father, and I thy true Son. There's some meaning there. It means something. Especially at this time when we're facing this great controversy, this great contest of racial survival they face, and they attempt to bring genocide upon our people. It means something to understand what we really are. Now, I know that there are those who teach that we are nothing more than something that crawled out of a slimy pond, and we just kind of developed over the years. And even some people within the white nationalist movement say, evoke this theory of evolution that we just kind of evolved from some slimy sea creature. And of course, we don't see it that way. And then there are people who there are Christians who reject the so-called, they say they reject, the teachings of evolution, but they still kind of make a little niche for it. Because they say God created all mankind. He just created all these mankind, all these different races, and all the people groups. They all had their origin in Adam. They all came from Adam. And this is the teaching of the vast majority of churches in America today. To a point you can say almost every church. We all just came from Adam. I even have heard people who call themselves racialists, who still kind of say the same thing. There was a fellow who used to come to our church here, came for about 2 years. And finally he said, Pastor Rob, I just don't think we can come anymore. And I said, why is that? He said, I'm against interracial marriage. I think it's wrong. I know what the blacks are doing. But when it gets all said and done, we're all children of Adam. And I thought, did you miss something? What is our worth? The word peculiar comes from the word sekula. He said you're a peculiar people. And it means something of value, a protected treasure. He told your ancestors when you came out of Egypt, when Moses came and directed our ancestors, they led them out of Egypt, and he gave them this promise. He said, you're a peculiar people. He said in Deuteronomy 14:2, for thou art a holy people. Does that mean something? We read it, churches read it, but does it mean something to us? You are a holy people. We need to let that sink in. I didn't say you're a righteous people. Bear in mind, I didn't say you're a righteous people. You're a holy people. A holy people unto the Lord. The Lord hath chosen thee to be a peculiar people unto himself, above all nations upon the earth. And then, of course, there in Psalms, for the Lord hath chosen Jacob unto himself, and Israel for his peculiar treasure. Well, the word peculiar, like I said, means something of value. God is looking down upon our people, our heritage, who we are, and saying, you are something of value. You're not just something that's climbed and crawled out of the ocean. If that's all we are, then what is the purpose of the whole struggle for anyway? You're something of value. So when we read that verse, but ye are a chosen generation, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, a peculiar people, what does that mean to us? Does it really sink in? Just like that guy said when he told those people, why were you afraid? Don't you know who you are? You're the sons and daughters of God. If that shouldn't give you some type of arrogance, I don't know what should. A chosen generation. Like I said, New International Version translate that as race. The word generation in the Greek means a kindred or offspring, a family, a tribe, nationality, or descent from a particular people. It means it's a racial deal. Now, Psalm 8, verse 3 through 9. King David talking. When I consider your heavens, the work of your fingers, the moon and the stars, which you have set in place, what is mankind? What are we? When I look at the vast, and sometimes people stand outside and look at the universe and say, wow, I feel so tiny. But sometimes I look at the universe and say, wow, I feel so big. The universe is vast, but can you imagine? God has put importance in you. Put value in you. Don't think of yourself as, oh, I'm just a tiny person in the universe. You're something big and enormous and of value. What is mankind that you are mindful of them? Human beings or mankind that you care for them. You have made them a little lower than the angels and crowned them, who? The sons of Adam, with glory and honor. Now here's the verse I want you to pay attention to. Referring to the sons of Adam. You made them rulers over the works of your hands. You put everything under their feet. He's talking to our people, our ancestors, the sons and daughters of Adam. And he said, listen, people, God put his whole works, the works of the universe, into your hands. And he put it under your feet. He says, verse 7, all flocks and herds and the animals in the wild and the birds in the sky and the fish in the sea and all that swim the paths of the sea. Verse 9 says, how majestic is your name in all of the earth. He said, God, he's talking to man, he's talking to our people, to sons of Adam. He said, you made them rulers over the works of your hands. You put everything under their feet. In another translation, it says this, Lord, when I look at the heavens and see all the wonderful things you made, I'm reminded that you made the sons of Adam to have dominion, to be rulers over all your creation. Do we wake up in the morning and understand that we facing this controversy, this attempt to genocide? Do we understand that we have dominion? We're supposed to claim dominion? There was a fellow that I won't say his name, because I mention his name, people say, oh, I'm trying to call a division in the movement. So I won't mention his name. But I had quite a lengthy discussion with him a few years ago. And he's supposed to be a racialist, white power, all this sort of stuff. But he gets right down to the nitty-gritty. I asked him specifically, do you feel there's a moral, that race mixing is a moral sin? He said, no. I thought, what? You're supposed to be an advocate for our cause? And you're telling me now that through the teaching of your church, you don't believe race mixing is a moral sin? He said, well, it's bad on kids, which is a lie. It's not bad on the kids. It's bad on the kids, and it hurts our culture and all this sort of stuff. But as far as a moral sin in the eyes of God, no. Now, this guy is fairly well known in the movement today. And like I said, I'd like to say his name, but if I do, then immediately I'm accused of causing division and causing rift and so on. So I just have to decline. Why are you a white person? Was this a dumb luck? I mean, it's just, here's a black man, here's a white man, there's a Chinaman. Why are you white? Is it just plain dumb luck that you just happen to be born white? I mean, could you have been born a Negro? I presented this question to you in the past. Could you have been born an Asian? Could you have been just easily born in a remote African village digging grubs out of the earth? Could that have happened to you? Job 38, 1 through 7. Then the Lord answered Job out of the whirlwind, or some translations say out of the storm, and said, who is that darkeneth counsel, or it means confuses the issue, other translations would suggest. Who is it that darkeneth counsel by words without knowledge? Gird up now thy loins, or make thyself strong, other translations say, make thyself strong like a man, for I will demand of you, and answer thou me. Where were you when I laid the foundations of the earth? Declare it if you have understanding. Who hath laid the measure thereof, if thou knowest? Or who hath stretched the line upon it? Whereupon are the foundation thereof fastened? Or who laid the cornerstone thereof? When the morning stars sang together, and all the sons of God shouted for joy. Now we have a reference here. It says, when the morning stars sang together, and all the sons of God shouted for joy, with at the foundation of the earth, when God created the earth, the morning stars sang together, and the sons of God shouted for joy. Who are these people? Who are these people that we call here, read here about the morning stars? Who are the morning stars? Who are these sons of God that shouted for joy of the creation of the universe? As you well know, the 5th chapter of Genesis starts off by saying this is the book of the generations of Adam. And that this is what this book is about. The generations of Adam. The word generation from the Hebrew todah, and it means family or descent. The family of Adam. Now we all know Adam means to be ruddy complected or show blood in the face. But he says the sons of Adam, what? What did we read here? The sons of Adam are going to what? Have dominion. He made them a little lower than the angels. They have dominion over all his creation, all his works, all the things under his hand. He gave that dominion and that power to who? The sons of Adam, to our people. You made them rulers over the works of your hands. You put everything under their feet, it says. What does that mean? Is that why we're a race of conquerors? Is that why? Wherever we place our feet, we conquered. He said he could put everything under your feet, that you're going to have dominion. All that belongs to who? A peculiar people, a special people, a people that have value. We read there in Psalms 8 where the sons of Adam were given this dominion. What does that mean? All the works, he's going to give us rulership over all the works of his hands. Do we think about what that means? He tells Israel, he tells the sons of Adam, I'm going to put all the works of my creation under what? Under your hands, under your authority, under control. And it's proven to be that way, hasn't it? Who has dominion over nature? Not over the laws of nature, but who has dominion over nature? Who has dominion over the cold? Every summertime, wintertime, when we turn up our air conditioner, who has dominion? Who brought these things to life? Who are the people who warms the air when it's cold? And who are the people that cools the air through air conditioning when it rains? And I know that we're told that Frederick Jones invented air conditioning, we're told, but we all know that William Carrier invented air conditioning 30-some years before the so-called patent by this other black guy. 34 years to be exact. Now we know the laws of nature will always be our master. But we can control nature, don't we? Don't we control nature? We have dominion over the heat in the summertime and over the cold temperatures of the winter. Our people have claimed dominion over ignorance and over disease, dominion over the oceans and dominion over the skies. Our people have claimed dominion over the barren wastelands of our western states. And every day we bring forth millions of gallons of water and water the desert floor. It's all part of the covenant to the sons of God. Our people brought forth electricity. We didn't invent electricity. Long before we knew about electricity, long before 1,000 years ago, Abraham did not know that if you crossed a white negative wire and a black positive wire, you're going to make a short. He didn't know that, but that law was still there, wasn't it? All the laws of electricity that we now understand and harness were always there. But what happened? Somewhere along the line, God gave us the dominion to master that. Just like electricity, music. All the notes, all the scales, the sharps, the flats, and the A's, the B's, all that sort of stuff that we hear on the piano or guitar. Those are notes. We didn't create those things. That musical laws, those musical laws have been in existence for thousands of years. And God gave our people the dominion over that to understand that and bring it to life. The laws that govern the transmission of television signals through the air, we didn't invent those things. Those laws were always there. But God gave us dominion, and we brought it forth. So we use electricity to clean our home, to cook our meals, to heat our houses. The radio captures our voice. Who would have thought 200 years ago, if you had told somebody, I can do this and this, and they're going to be able to hear me, like in Europe, they'll say, hey, you're nuts. The law was there. We didn't understand it, but God gave our people what? Dominion over all the creations of his, makings of his hands. So we see the images on TV. Through science, our race creates darkness, whereas light. And create light, whereas darkness. From the ocean, from the floor of the ocean to the stairways of heaven, our people have claimed dominion. It's what is called our dominion mandate. Why? It's just because you happen to be born a white person? No. It's because you are the sons and daughters of God. You're his offspring, if I might say, in the earth. You're not just something that God said, poof, okay, I'm going to make a white man, poof, I'm going to make a black man. You are his issue. You're his offspring. He brought forth of himself and create in the creation of Adam, of his own spirit. That's why King David could say, now maketh him to have dominion over the works of his hands and put all things under his feet. But in order to have that dominion, we must be in the will of God. Excuse me. Or we could become the tail and not the head. Deuteronomy tells us. And unfortunately, there are people who don't understand that mandate. They don't understand that. And that's what we're trying to understand here now. Your ancestors didn't swing from branches and didn't swooping down from their tail. You are more than a slimy life form crawling out of a pond. You're more than a slimy life form crawling out of a pond. You're the sons and daughters of God. You're given power, divine right to rule, the power and the right to have dominion. Every day I turn on television set and see preachers telling us how we can become a part of the family of God. You've seen that. How you can become a part, you can become a son or daughter of God. Now there's three positions usually, I can only think of three, on this concept of being a son or daughter of God. The one is taught that says that we are all people, using that in the big tent theory, all people are the sons and children of God, sons and daughters of God. All people, everybody, white, red, white, yellow, black, and white, they're all precious in His sight. You know, all that whole stuff. And that's what so many teach. Then there are those Christians. The Christian denomination says that you can only become a son and daughter of God by becoming a Christian. And there are people who teach that, even racialists teach that, and I've even seen people with some claiming this to be identity teach that. You can only become a son and daughter of God by accepting Christ. And then the position that I present. Only the sons of Adam, only the daughters of Adam can become the sons and daughters of God. And it may sound redundant, but here's a simple form. Only the sons and daughters of God can become the sons and daughters of God. Does that make sense? Only the sons and daughters of God can claim that inheritance. Somebody who's not my son can claim my inheritance, can they? Somebody who's not your son or your daughter can't claim your inheritance. Who can claim your inheritance? Only your children can claim your inheritance. Only the sons and daughters of God can claim the inheritance. The idea that every living two-legged person is one of God's children just isn't biblically possible. The way I see it. You may see it differently, and that's okay. I'm just telling you the way I see it. I don't know of any scripture that will support the idea of the universal brotherhood of man. There is none. Yet it's widely promoted by pagan religions, and even though most Christian church would not imply that, they still say that all mankind are the sons and daughters of God, in that they have that capacity. They buy into humanist philosophy. The idea of brotherhood of man and the fatherhood of God was the theme of popular television show, Touched by an Angel. Remember that? And the angel, somebody get in trouble or whatever, it's got to be whatever, a loser, or maybe not a loser, had a hard time, whatever the case may be. The scenario will always be different. And then at the end of the show, Roma Downey, or whatever her name was, something like that. And she would come there, and then her face lights up, and then she'd say, God loves you. It was never, God's going to judge you. I never heard that. It was never, you reached the end of your life, and now you're going to stand before God in judgment. I never heard that from the show. It was always, God loves you. And we're all supposed to be fluffy inside. And we did a billboard outside of town. It said, diversity, the code word for salvation. And then the one you see driving in town here shows like a Mongol, a Mongol-looking Jesus. I mean, it's just, I'm not sure what race he would be described as. And you'll see the billboard hands like this. He said, God reaches out to you, and we reach out to God. Okay. Anyway, now, a fellow by the name of Richard Wright, he's a secretary of this religion. I had to put it on the screen because I did not know how to pronounce it. So there it is. He's a secretary of that religion. It's pretty large. Probably larger than our congregation here, I'm sure. He says that we all would be guided by the highest spiritual principles and the laws of universal brotherhood to recognize of all races and colors as the children of God. Everybody. And then there's this guy. Oh, that's what I just read. This guy. Now, don't laugh. You better not laugh. This guy, what is it? He is the incarnation of God on the earth. Better not laugh. He died 3 or 4 years ago. His name is Sai Baba. Sai Baba. He's the incarnation of God in the earth. I mean, he don't say he's God, but he's God's messenger to the earth. I think he's like some spiritual trance there or something, or he's just saying, is there a horse's head in my bed or something? I don't know. Was that like something, the Godfather, a horse's head or something? Here's what he said. I don't know if I got it on the screen. Yeah. Here's what he said. God does not exist separately for any particular nation. We read in the scriptures just the opposite of that. And if you don't believe in the scripture, then you have to accept this. It's one or the other. Can't be both. You either believe in Jesus Christ and God, or you have to believe in what he is saying. There is no middle ground. There is no middle ground. You have to accept Jesus Christ is God, and the scriptures are holy and divine, or you have to accept what he's saying, that it doesn't really matter. God does not exist separately for any particular nation. He exists for all individuals in all nations. He shows us no particularity for any. Sweets are many, but sugar is one. Oh, that's a deep thought. Stars are many, but sky is one. Jews are many, but gold is one. And bodies are many, but spirit is one. All are therefore children of God. The brotherhood of man under the fatherhood of God is the spiritual path to follow. Now, all religions teach this. All religions teach, I want you to understand that all religions teach. All Christian religions teach us, all Eastern religions teach us, the Muslims teach us, all your spiritual teach, they all, every single one, all religion, including the 99% of your Christian churches teach that we are all the same spiritual, share the same spiritual realm and everybody else. We're all equal in creation, we're equal in sin, we're equal in need of salvation, and equal, therefore, before God. It's called universalism. The first Christian church to promote this teaching, as far as I know, was the Roman Catholic Church. Catholic means universal. Now, here's a fellow who was a member of the Church of Christ. Who's considered a fundamental church. There's numerous ones in town. He's an author, preacher, Reverend E.L. Williams, minister of the Church of Christ. He wrote a book called The Fatherhood of God and the Brotherhood of Man. Here's what he said. Sounds exactly what this guy, Sari Baba, says. Here's what he said. The doctrine of the brotherhood of all men follows from the doctrine of the general fatherhood of God. It is a way of expressing the kinship of all men, a kinship derived from the nature of man as created in the image of God. And we're all the same. It doesn't make any difference. It don't make any difference. Eastern religions, Muslim religions, and 99.9% of all your Christian churches. The brotherhood of man, the fatherhood of God, we're all the same before God. That's why that guy used to come to church here, finally decided not to come anymore, because he just couldn't accept the idea that maybe there was somebody chosen. Only the children of God can become the children of God. A few years ago, I've had people ask me, I've mentioned this before, but I'll go over it again. Tom, you could have been born Negro. Some of you probably have had the same thing. You could have been born Negro. What do you think? Really? Jason, could you have been born Negro? Could you have been born Negro? Or Asian? Is it possible? If the idea that we're just kind of, the white people are kind of pop, white people, pop, black people, maybe pop, yellow people. If we were just a pop that God did, then maybe that'll be the case. But we're more than a pop, we're the offspring of God. You can't be born Negro anymore, you could have been born a chipmunk or a rabbit or a snapping turtle that people try to drive over when they see it crossing the highway. You're born into the holy family of God because why? Because you're the son and daughter of God. In Luke chapter 3, verse 36. Shem, which was the son of Noah, which was the son of Lamech, which was the son of Methuselah, which was the son of Enoch, which was the son of Jared, which was the son of Machaliah, which was the son of Canaan, which was the son of Enos, which was the son of Seth, which was the son of Adam, which was the son of God. God formed him and put his spirit. He had the spirit of God in him. Adam, the son of God. Do you think Adam could have been born a Negro? Do you think Adam could have been born a centipede or a cockroach or a rabbit or a deer in the forest? No. Why? He's the son of God. Same thing with you. You're the son and daughter of God. That's why the Bible in chapter 5, I've got it emblazoned in my Bible actually, this is the book of the generations of Adam. Ye are the children of the Lord your God. Not just some tissue that God put together and put white skin on. God imparted his own spirit into you at your birth. You are the literal sons and daughters of God. You have a right to claim dominion. It's part of your dominion mandate. And that is why, through our people, God's Spirit, he gave to our people the power to rule over his creation. You know what David said? I've given him the power to rule over all the works of my hands. Isn't that what a ruler does? He gives power to what? His children. He doesn't give power to strangers. He didn't give power to aliens. A ruler gives power to his children. And God recognizes that we are his children. Not just a pop of creation, but in us is contained the very spirit that he imparted to us as the children of God. We're going to talk about more of this next week. Our Father, we thank you for this day, and we thank you for your blessings and watch care over us. We ask you to help us to understand the enormous responsibility we have as your sons and daughters. And that responsibility means that we have to conduct our lives and control our lives and fashion our lives and our habits and fashion everything we do, our language, fashion everything that we represent the King of Kings. And help us to reach out then with that power we understand to claim dominion. We ask it all in your holy and precious name. Amen.
After this last song, if everyone can remain, everyone can